In this video, I want to quickly derive the quadratic formula for solving for the zeros of quadratics using completing the square. All right. So, if we have our general quadratic set to 0, 0 is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. And we want to solve this using completing the square. But in this case, we have these very generalized a, b, and c. They can be any numbers. The first thing I need to do is realize that I cannot do completing the square if a is any number other than 1. So what I have to do is divide everything by a to ensure that my leading coefficient is 1. So I'm going to divide everything by a. Okay. And what I get is 0 divided by a is 0 is equal to x squared plus b over ax plus c over a. Excuse me. Okay. The next thing we need to do is, okay, so I'm not sold that this c over a is indeed the c value that we're going to need to make a perfect square. So I'm going to subtract c over a from both sides. And I'll get negative c over a is equal to x squared plus b over ax, and that's it. All right. Next step. I need to find a c value that's going to make this a perfect square trinomial. I'm going to do that by taking over here, I'm going to take my b over a, I'm going to multiply it by 1/2, just like what we would do with the b value. In general, using completing the square, and square it. So this is going to be b squared over 4a. That's the number that I have to add to both sides. Okay. The right side factors into x plus b over 2a squared. And the left, I can add these two terms together using a common denominator, the common denominator being 4a. So I'll get, this is 4a squared. Using 4a squared as my common denominator. So I'm going to get b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Okay. The next step, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Okay, taking the square root of both sides, I get the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared is, this is plus or minus, is equal to x plus b over 2a. All right. Next step, I notice that I can simplify this. If I break this square root up into the square root of b squared minus 4ac over the square root of 4a squared. 4a squared is a perfect square, or it's a perfect square. So I can make that into 2a. So here I'll get plus or minus the square root of b squared over 4ac over 2a. That's equal to x plus b over 2a. Okay, I only need one more step to isolate x. And I'm going to subtract b over 2a from both sides. b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a is equivalent to x. And this is more commonly written as combining the terms. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a is commonly how you would write the quadratic formula. Okay, and what this does is it tells you what the x-intercepts are of the quadratic, where it hits the x-axis, where the parabola hits the x-axis. They're also called zeros sometimes, or roots. All of these are the same thing.